So when I was here in 2009, my organization was only a year and a half old. And I had founded this nonprofit called Project H after working as a designer and in architecture and construction. And I was fed up with doing projects that felt totally disconnected from people and problems and impact. So I started this organization to try to figure out how to do that type of work. So when I stood on the stage 7 years ago, I really deeply believed that design could change the world. I was working on projects like this. This is a redesign of a water transport device in sub-Saharan Africa, and fixtures for a pediatric hospital in Mexico City, and playground equipment in Central America. And it was here at PopTech, though, where I was first challenged to do better than this. One of the advisors in the Fellows program asked me, "Emily, where's the beef?" And they were right. My heart wasn't in these projects because I was a world away, and I felt disingenuous and disconnected from these communities. And they ended up really being design exercises and not really impactful. So I left PopTech, and I vowed to myself that I was going to find a way to do better and to go deeper and to do more honest work. I didn't know exactly what that would look like, but I knew what I wanted it to not look like. So 4 months later, I got an email from this guy. This is Dr. Chip Zollinger. He was the superintendent of a rural school district in northeastern North Carolina. And he emailed me and asked me and my partner at the time, Matt Miller, to come down to his school district and basically help him save it. There were students dropping out, the test scores were abysmal, he couldn't find enough good teachers, and on and on and on. And so he said, "I've tried everything, so I'm emailing a couple of designers." I was like, "Great, we'll be there." So I flew down there, and over the next year, I started flying back and forth from San Francisco to Bertie County and working on projects like this. These are renovated computer labs, this graphic design campaign to advertise free broadband internet to the school district families. And these are fine projects, but it became clear pretty quickly that we had to make a choice. We could walk through door number 1 and repeat the errors of the past where we were parachuting in and doing something and leaving, or we could really go deep and become invested in Bertie County as citizens and not just as designers. So I said to Dr. Zollinger, "Can we teach a class? Can we teach a high school class where we work with high school students to design and build full-scale pieces of public architecture for their community?" Basically shop class with a purpose. And he said, "Sure." So I moved down there. I moved to rural North Carolina. I rented a house downtown. I registered to vote. My partner and I took over this old abandoned barn in the back of the high school campus and turned it into a shop and a studio. We met all kinds of families and students. We went to the community college down the street and we said, "Hey, can you partner with us so that we can offer 17 college credits to our students over the course of this year?" All of our students were first-generation college goers. And then we opened the doors on the first day of school, and it all kind of hit me like, I guess I'm a high school teacher now. And we asked our students on the very first day, "What do you want to build to make your community better?" And then we spent the rest of the year building the answer to that question. And the answer, which our students, their families, business people, the mayor, the town councilman, local farmers all said, is that they wanted a farmer's market. And that made so much sense. This is a food desert. It's a town of 1,500 people. You have high obesity rates, really low public health, a stagnant economy. It made perfect sense for so many folks. So we took our students to the state farmers market to look at what a farmer's market is, what works and what doesn't, what do we want ours to look like, what do we want it to not look like. We made a ton of models. We looked at a lot of architectural precedent studies ranging from Buckminster Fuller to Mies van der Rohe and random outdoor pavilions. We prototyped a ton of building details because we had to build in a hurricane and a flood zone. We showed our work to the public, to the mayor, to the town council, to Rotary clubs. We asked for feedback. We took their feedback. We went to the building department and we worked with an engineer to get our construction documents approved, and the mayor gave us a plot of land to build on. So somewhere along the way, I fell like madly in love with my students. I was eating Thanksgiving dinners with them. We were playing cornhole, beanbag toss in my backyard. I ended up tutoring like half of them in pre-calculus. And it was that bond that carried us through the year and actually into the summer, because on the last day of school, we had designed this thing, but now we had to go and build it. So the day after school got out, we hit the construction site. We dug holes for what felt like an eternity. We poured concrete in those holes to make our foundation footers. We hand-assembled our structural trusses because you can't legally operate a power tool on a construction site if you're under the age of 18. We raised those trusses into the air, and I watched as my students watched this thing grow out of the ground that was a model on their desk like 3 weeks before. We were this crazy ragtag construction crew of 16-year-olds who were black, white, female, male, and I was their foreman, forewoman. But we got up every day, and we sweat, and we bled, and we got it done in 110-degree heat because we were all invested in seeing this thing through. And then at the end of the summer, we opened the Windsor Farmers Market. And on the first day, 12 vendors and about 150 people came out to sell their goods. And the mayor gave my students the key to the city. And my student, Karan, who's in the striped shirt, he took the microphone from the mayor and he said, "I'm going to come back here someday with my kids and tell them that I built this." Karan just graduated from Eastern Carolina University, and he also just became a father. So the farmers market also is thriving. It's been 5 years. There's over 50 vendors, and it's created 4 new businesses downtown and 15 new jobs. And this project fundamentally changed the way I thought about design and building and community. It was proof that I didn't have to go big and wide and be everywhere in order to have an impact, but maybe the best impact I could have was to have intimate relationships with human beings and to go and do audacious, amazing things with them. So since then, we've kept our focus very small and personal. Over the next 2 years, we built this series of pop-up farm stands to make a more networked system of farmers markets in Bertie County, North Carolina. And then we also brought our program to the Bay Area to work with students from Richmond, Berkeley, and Oakland. And with them, we built a shipping container classroom. We built their own school library because their charter school did not have a library facility. And they designed and built 2 micro homes for the homeless. And then I went even smaller. I have experienced and observed gender disparity in my classroom, in my own life and work, and so I created this space called Girls Garage, which is a physical place for girls ages 9 to 16, and sometimes their mothers, to come together and to be brave and to build stuff for their community. So over the past 4 years of working with these girls, I've taught about 200 young girls how to weld, how to use a chop saw, how to mix and pour concrete. And in partnership with the local women's shelter, we have designed and built about 12 pieces of furniture to improve that facility and improve the lives of the women who live there, who are homeless or victims of domestic abuse. So I do still think that design can change the world, but maybe I think that world is just a little bit smaller and a little bit more intimate and more human-sized. I think that focus matters. I think that being in and of a place matters. And I think that handshakes and eye contact and hugs and tears matter. I don't personally know how to have an impact from far away or by dragging and dropping some franchise, but I do know that I can have an impact by knowing the fears and traumas of my students, and that when my 10-year-old girls come to me and say they want to build some impossible thing, that I get to be the one that says to them, yes, let's go figure it out together. Thank you.